Michael Chandler says he would not be surprised if his fight with Conor McGregor gets announced for the 165-pound championship. And Chandler, within that same statement, said that a bout agreement is not yet signed. So, what do you make of that? I mean, what do you make of that? Like, the bout agreement isn't signed. Is that the bigger part, or is it a 65-pound title? And the 65-pound title is a very tough one for me. I mean, first, I'm just playing along. When I'm playing as though they're considering putting up the belt. There is no topic there. They are not considering putting up the belt, just so you know. But to play along, okay, the bout agreement's not signed. I got to go back to that. 65-pound belt. I got to go back to that. The biggest question on this fight is what weight are they doing it at? And the only reason that's the biggest question, as opposed to when are they doing the fight, is what weight are they doing it precedes when are they going to do it. It was the first question asked. I remember where I was. It was one of those weird times. I happened to be in my car driving in California with my partner Ryan to valet parking to watch Fedor's retirement fight. I remember it perfectly clear. And there was a media member that was good enough to get a hold of Dana and get a hold of Chandler. But he did not tell Dana that he got a hold of Chandler, did not tell Chandler that he got a hold of Dana. So that media member came out and said, Chandler said, oh, and Conor, he got a hold of all three. And all three gave him a different number. I just happen to remember where I was when that happened. Go, oh, wait a minute. You asked three people involved with the fight what the weight is. You got three different answers. So I only share that with you to tell you why I'm saying that has been the preceding question. And in this latest, of course, people asked when this fight was announced, what weight will it be at? 170 was the answer. So a discussion of it being at 165, you see where that would be yesterday's news and simply not happening. But when you get armed with the fact that this thing isn't signed anyway, it starts to open that door. Now, do you need it? I mean, do you, the audience, you, the fan, do you need this to be about something? And that is what the belt would represent. Like, in my opinion, it would not greatly, and that'd be exciting for me. I love opportunity. I love when a belt comes out. I would not be against that notion. Now, again, I'm not hedging. There is zero chance of this happening for a plethora of reasons. I'm speaking to the idea that we live with right now. Like, here would be an example. The athletes would really like a 165-pound title. That would be great. Any athlete would like any championship opportunity, any time that they could get it. So if you had not yet agreed to the fight, all of a sudden you're behind the scenes. Nobody ever's going to find out. You start putting your foot down. I'll only do this if there is a discussion that would take place for that belt. But once the fight is announced and it's agreed on, there now is no room for negotiating. And therefore the title would not be going up. And that title would create a lot of problems. All right, if you have a champion anywhere and you don't have a belief that he is going to defend it on a regular schedule, you have a massive problem. But where it would be interesting, 165, is to see over time who went there. What 70-pounders are going to come down? Islam himself, would he stay at 55? What 55-pounders are going to come up, including champions? That part would be fascinating to me. And when Monday Night Raw and SmackDown went and had the draft and who's going to go where, that was interesting to me for whatever reason. But my bigger takeaway is not a discussion over a 65-pound title. That is not going to happen. My bigger takeaway is that a bout agreement's not signed. And is that just an issue that it hasn't been put in the fax machine yet? Or is it an issue it has been, it's been agreed in principle, and it just hasn't been stuck in the mailbox to be returned yet? Don't think you have to correct me about the Postal Service and the fax machines. You understand the point I'm trying to make. there was a lot of hesitation and there was a lot of reservation for everybody involved to do anything or to co-sign or agree or make an announcement on anything regarding that fight until everything was signed. Now, on the other hand, it's not a good way to do business. I mean, when you're doing business, you need to be able, whether it's a text, a phone call, a handshake, a nod, whatever it is. If you get a yes from this guy, that is now done. If you get a yes from two guys, that's done. I should be able to come out and tell the world and then count on everything being done behind the scenes. And if that is exactly what happened here and there is no bad agreement, that's a big compliment to the way Conor does business and the way Chandler does business. That's a compliment. If the organization is able to count on their word and come out and present something to all of you, particularly to the magnitude of this fight and the magnitude of International Fight Weekend. But it is in many ways a fascinating topic of 165 pounds. Do we know that Conor can make 65? I mean, for the first time ever, Conor making 170 is going to be a struggle. The first time Conor went to 170, just to remind you, was against Nate Diaz. And it was short notice, and Conor had breakfast before he showed up, and he showed up with some clothes on, and he was still 168. Or the time that Conor fought Cowboy Cerrone on very short notice, it was the exact same scenario, and there was no weight pulled off, and he was under the limit. And this time, based on the pictures we've seen, he's going to have to give that a look, give that a lifestyle change, give that some real focus and some real dedication. Could even get down to 165. Like, not for nothing, but those are the more interesting elements to this. Now, again, I'm playing here. I'm playing along. There is no 65-pound title. There is no title anywhere where both contestants are going to be coming off of losses. But as you're starting to think or wonder if you need a title, then you're admitting that you see the problem. That the fight is about nothing. It's not about a ranking. It's not about a championship. It's not even a personal grudge. And to fill that void and to find out what that fight is about is important. But in my opinion, the fight is a big question. Can Conor return? Is Conor able to overcome the injury that he had, the layoff that he had, the distractions that he's had, the temptation and the lifestyle that we're told that he is leading? Can he overcome all of that? Do the work necessary ahead of time to be at a level of fitness to do the hardest thing, hardest sport known to man, at least that I've ever personally seen, and to do it for up to 25 minutes? I think that's a great question. It's a very fair question. I think it's an intriguing question. I also think, as far as it pertains to this fight, that right there, what I just said, is what you should go with, because that is the only legitimate question we have.